Hans, today it's April 5th, 2022, and there's news about Ayman Al-Zawahiri. What have you heard?
Well, Ayman Al-Zawahiri finally appeared on a video again after having a video message at the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and then another message at the beginning of February. This is now again a video of Ayman Zawahiri, now long and in color, and you can see clearly, and he mentions a very recent incident in India to make sure that everyone understands it's a recent, not a pre-recorded video. This should put to rest really now the question of whether he is ill or whether he's dead. He seems very much alive, and I think I have a good idea where he may be.
Really? Please do tell.
Not in the thing which city is, but with a very large likelihood he is now within Taliban-controlled territory in Afghanistan. We've seen other prominent Al Qaeda members, as we had discussed previously with each other, coming back on social media live to Afghanistan. So Al Qaeda feels very safe in that country. So if there would be any advice I would want to give to Mr. Zawahiri, this is the best country for him to be in at this point.
Hans, do you think he moved there from some other place, or do you think he's been there all along?
Difficult to say. When I was at the UN, and then, as you know, I advised the Security Council for 5 years, and then my predecessor as well held that conviction until August last year, was that most likely is not in Afghanistan. This would be too close until American troops were still there, international troops were still there, the Kabul government was actually government, not a regime. The risks of such a high-profile individual who's merely being alive is central to the Al Qaeda network. Being so close to everyone else was possibly too much. And as we have learned, major Al Qaeda figures also were fairly safe in Pakistan. Ultimately not safe enough, but safe. So our assumption, our working assumption, without having any concrete information, was that he was somewhere in the Pakistan-Afghanistan border region. Everyone hoped he wasn't in Abbottabad or Islamabad or any of the other big cities, but definitely not inside Afghanistan. That there certainly has changed.
What have you learned from the video and basically his appearance, et cetera? You said it seems as though he's alive and well. What have you learned from seeing this?
Well, it's more frequent than he has done in the last years. That's the first point. So, you know, 20th anniversary of September, 9/11 in September last year, then another video, another message in February, now a video, which means he has picked up the pace of communicating into the network, which in my opinion is a reflection of the fact that Al Qaeda feels it has achieved in Afghanistan a great success, and it's now rebuilding its network. Compare that to the near total silence of the ISIS leader until he was killed, and the absolute silence of the ISIS leader, the new ISIS leader, since he has been appointed. You can see a stark difference here. One seems to be very much concerned about security and under pressure, and the other one doesn't, as much at least.
What kind of message was Zawahiri sending in his address or in his appearance?
Look, it was very consistently since last year, always the same primary message. We won in Afghanistan, not just against the Americans. We won against all of the infidels at once, which proves that we have the right strategy. Slight criticism, without saying so, of the Islamic State's ideas. And round two. So Al Qaeda in no way, shape or form has given up the ambition to again do international terrorist attacks. Yes, they have a very strong network of affiliates who have made progress, in particular in Africa, to destabilize conflict zones. But that shouldn't divert us from the main point of Al Qaeda, is not to be involved in the conflict in Mali or to set up a structure in Southeast Asia. The main point is to hit the far enemy. They've never changed that strategy, not even when ISIS for a couple of years appeared much, much more successful than them. So this is still very much part of the program. And as I said, the frequency of the messages, the fact that he is appearing in person in a video now, basically showing how he is, how he looks like. Seems to me the comfort level has certainly risen.
What is the current strength of Al Qaeda to your knowledge right now in terms of its capabilities? I don't know if you would even know about its size. It'd probably be hard to tell, but what can you
Very
tell
hard.
us about its strength?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, it comes down to the definition of what you count towards the strength of Al Qaeda. If you count every fighter of every affiliate that has Al Qaeda has around the globe, it's thousands, of course. However, these fighters primarily are engaged in regional conflicts in North Africa, in East Africa, in West Africa, in Southeast Asia, in South Asia, right? What is concern of us is individuals, networks capable of doing attacks against Western targets, and particularly in the West. Now, in the last couple of years, this was more or less totally exclusively the provenance of Al Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula, AQAP in Yemen. As you know, they had a very famous engineer who had extremely interesting technical ideas on how you can use laptops, bombs on airplanes and all of these things. We have to see, AQAP was, by the way, the last one that was able to do an attack of quite significant. It was the Pensacola shooting, which wasn't a big damage attack, but it was impressive in the fact that it was prepared over years and years and years. So this was an AQAP operative recruited while he was joining the Saudi military, then going through the entire career in the Saudi military, still being AQAP, waiting to be posted in America, and then conducted this attack. So, that was the impressive part. It wasn't a large casualty attack. It was a painful attack for the American military, but the impressive part was the long preparation. Since that time, we've not yet seen a Al Qaeda linked actual terror attack in Europe or the US.
Hans, what do you think this appearance will mean to the true believers, to the Al Qaeda people that have been waiting for this?
Motivation. Clearly, that's the only point why Zawahiri does these videos, right? This network works on personal loyalty, so he needs to exist, somehow verifiably exist as an individual so that people can swear allegiance to him. That has happened. He needs to stay alive because that's how the network functions. No person, no loyalty oath, the network falls apart. That's the primary function. His appearance on videos is simply to show we are still here, I'm still here, all the rumors that I'm ill is wrong, let's continue. And as I said, the consistent message since last year is this was a great success in Afghanistan.
I think we spoke about a week ago, or maybe a few days ago, about another matter. And I think if I'm not correct, and maybe correct me if I'm not supposed to share this publicly, but there is an awful lot of thought going into the possibility that there may be a terror attack sometime soon, somewhere in the world, by a number of people I've spoken to. Do you get the sense that Al Qaeda might be leading the charge on that?
I mean, look, again, it comes down to your definition of a terror attack. ISIS is always trying to inspire terror attacks in the West all the time by sympathizers, right? They have been trying and successfully directed attacks, which means the cell is already here. They may have never been in Iraq or Syria or Afghanistan or any other ISIL affiliates, but they are a cell that is operating, and ISIL, in one case in Germany in 2020, instructed them even from Afghanistan on how to conduct terror attacks. So that is going on all the time. However, now that Al Qaeda has been dancing the victory dance for 6 to 8 months now, everyone understands the Taliban are not about to eradicate them in Afghanistan. Sooner or later, Al Qaeda will have to deliver. So that the pressure is mounting to show that not only as an addendum to the Taliban in Afghanistan can you be successful, but in your core mission, you can also be successful. Yes, of course, they need to somehow deliver sooner or later.
And last thing, what message does this send to the U.S. and what should the U.S. do?
Look, I mean, we are in a very difficult situation. It's not just the US, it's the Europeans the same way. We discussed this several times already. We now have a pretty good idea where the core Al Qaeda leadership is located. We also know that through the Haqqani network, they have a protector in Afghanistan. Plus, we have already quite a large number of regional affiliates of Al Qaeda on Afghan soil. So we do have somewhat of a new Al Qaeda center of gravity in Afghanistan. And as my successors in the Security Council have pointed on the last report, the most permissible space for Al Qaeda worldwide at this point. So this is really tricky. The problem is we don't have any troops on the ground. We don't have, I guess, not sufficiently compared to what we had until August last year, intelligence assets on the ground. To rebuild this after what can only be interpreted from sources in Afghanistan as a betrayal, i.e. us leaving in a situation where the people who want to kill them take over power in the country, and us, by and large, no one, but by and large, leaving them behind. That is not a good starting point to rebuild your intelligence assets networks. So we are a little bit blind in Afghanistan. I think things are getting better from what I hear. But we are not there where we were in August 2021, where we should be because of this new center of gravity of the Al Qaeda leadership. That makes it difficult. I understand there's still drone strikes. There's still the attempt to do this over the horizon. But this is all good when you know where to strike. And that's really the difficult point in Afghanistan. You need to know what you hit.
Yeah. Anything you want to add that I haven't asked you about that you think is important?
No, I think we covered all the major points, yeah.
Hans, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. Hans Schindler, Senior Director of the Counter Extremism Project. Thank you again.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you, JJ.